think you and your company, as well as your coworkers, have been able to build a very cohesive and close-knit organization in this time. So, with all of these changes coming together and how you've adapted to it, how do you believe this has kind of shifted to enable you or facilitate you to beat your competition or level the playing field? Could you give me more examples on what has worked, what hasn't worked when it comes to these business philosophies, and what are you doing to stay relevant?
Great question. I think, what is good is, at least in terms of the motto of our company, to provide true hospitality for good, is a great guiding star, right? Because the strategies in which you use to implement that can change with the times, but the fundamental core of who you are as a company is the same. And for us, that has been, not only to care about ourselves, but to care about our investor owners, our guests, our employees, our shareholders, and the community, right? And so then using that, we then figure out what the strategy is going to be. So I think what hasn't worked has been to stick to the old ways, right? And I think, some of our peers in the industry are guilty of that. And you see it in the industry. At times, the hotel industry hasn't necessarily been the fastest to move, right? And there is a temptation to just wait it out, right? And hope for the best, just like the GFC, just like SARS. But I think that is not going to work. And our stakeholders, like our investor owners who are, waiting for cash flow to come in, they're not going to be able to accept that from us, especially when we're an asset manager managing their asset on their behalf. So we've been forced to innovate, not only in IHG, but also as an industry, which I think has been a great catalyst for a lot of change. So a few things that we've done and what I think has worked is, I still remember the day when the pandemic became very clear that it was going to take a while, and that this pandemic would be different from any other crises that we had faced. I still remember our managing director for the region, he said, make no mistake, right? This pandemic is going to be transformational. There will be winners, there will be losers. We want to be a winner. So what does it take to be a winner? To kind of look at the way we've done everything and really look at a new lens, be future forward and see what can we do to address this issue. And it's been great because I think that message really stuck with our organization. And so some of the things we've done, to stay relevant. One example is we went from primarily being an international business where most of our clientele came internationally, or where we relied a lot on MICE, meetings, events, and conferences, to having this completely pulled away from us, right? So if you relied on the old way of doing things, you would just sit out with a high cost base and wait for nothing to come, right? So what we did was we immediately needed to find ways to, one, I guess, reduce costs. So that's led to things like workforce optimization, skilling workers, equipping them to do the right thing, but also to find a sustainable midterm source of revenues that hopefully will also help us in the long term. And so what we did as a company was really interesting was here in Singapore, in our region, we came up with a series of ground up initiatives, innovation hubs, we called them. And these were super organic. It was basically like crowdsourcing, right? So rather than the traditional way where some top leader tells you what to do, we said, look, the people on the ground who are running these hotels, who are facing these problems every day, these are the best people to tell you what's happening, what's going to work, what's not going to work. So what we did was we created a 50-50 deliberate split. We had the hotel staff from the ground take videos. So basically everyone had to submit a video like you're going to American Idol. You had to submit a video of kind of why you felt you were a good potential member of an innovation team. We then found sort of the 10 most pressing business problems we had, which included things like how do we get domestic revenue? How do we use hotel spaces meant for travelers for the local community? And then we had people come up with ideas, brainstorming, and then we presented them to the whole company. And it's worked so well that we're actually going to do it again and again every few months. I'm in fact doing mine tomorrow. So my first one will be tomorrow. And we've changed a bit how we're going to do it. So some of what we did with the innovation sessions, So one is, I think, we approach the question of domestic business, and without the traditional MICE sector, what are we going to do? So we piloted in one of the hotels, which is Intercontinental Singapore, here in Bugis Junction. How are we going to do this? So to fill the rooms, we did things like look at what local Singaporeans are looking for, and what they're looking for is the badly needed getaway, time with the family, right? So what we did was we created a series of packages like pet-friendly staycations. So we became a pet-friendly hotel for the time being. You could bring your pet. We became sort of a spin the wheel suite package. So you never knew what you're going to get. Come to pay for a suite, you may get the presidential suite, who knows, right? So we gamified the whole process. We made our lobby spaces and our restaurants, fit what the local Singaporean would need. So our lobby at Intercon Singapore basically became like a co-working space or a meetings hub where people just started coming in groups of less than 8 by social distancing rules, come in and have their meetings because no one's really going to the office anymore, right? Or for leisure, kind of people could come and have high tea packages with their friends. And then on MICE, we actually created sort of what we call the green room. And this is a hybrid in-person, I think up to 50 packs, as well as external event. So it's basically like a broadcasting studio where we can then have the presenter not only talk to the immediate audience of 50 people, but we can connect with other IHG or other hotel or locations to bring everyone into a meeting. So that's one example the Innovation Hub kind of resulted in. And I think another one is, when we were looking at how we find business, well, when Singapore and Malaysia, where you are, the borders closed, we went, hey, how do we help our hotels which are struggling to find business? And we went, well, there's so many Malaysians here that have no home and they can't go back. So they need to be housed. Let's go approach the companies here that we already know, and let's talk to them about their needs, right? And so through this, we managed to get a strong sort of Malaysian national business who are working in Singapore to be housed at our hotels on package rates, and that helped us fill the business as well. So just two simple examples.